What's up, Chowderheads? It's your main man again, Steamin Chowder. We got a really big show for you today, but before I get into it, I do want to address the sort of elephant in the room. It's true, the left is trying to silence me again. And look, I'm not that worried about it. I don't really care what some blue hair on Twitter has to say, but if they come after me, there's a pretty good chance that they're going to come after you next, and I don't want to let that happen. I don't have the kind of resources that the liberal elites have. You know, I've basically got my YouTube channel and you guys, but I don't want to quit fighting, and you guys can help me out in that fight by joining our cup crew. It's a small annual donation, mostly goes to keep the lights on here, but it also helps us keep bringing you the truth that the mainstream media isn't telling you. But you don't get nothing other than my beautiful face and truth for your contribution. You also get our capitalist Chowderhead cup that is so exclusive it's not even available for sale on our website. Look, I've got mine, and I gotta be honest, you should see the looks that I get from the so-called tolerant SJW types when I'm getting my cup of coffee in the morning. Look, yeah, I use a reusable cup. I'm going green. I'm an environmentalist now. Anyway, use the code LeftistTears at checkout. It'll save you 15% off your annual subscription, and I'll see you on the other side. We seem to be living in a bit of a golden age for grifters. And since I don't have nearly the sort of internet clout or reach that would allow me to participate in that industry, instead, I'm just going to take some shots at some grifters. We're all familiar, I think, with at least some of these. You got your Jordan Petersons, your Dave Rubins, your Steven Crowders, your Jacob Wolls, Candace Owens, the list goes on. And I've heard something of a common refrain about them for quite a while, and it goes a little bit like this. These people may be saying heinous things or hosting villainous right-wingers on their shows, but they're just in it for the money. They're not really behind what they say. Blair White, in fact, noted good person, Blair White, put out a video herself recently saying that she's had conversations with some of these alt-right folks, and they've pretty much admitted that they don't believe what they're saying. Now, I wouldn't watch the video from Blair. I would certainly not recommend it, particularly if you are trans or queer, but I will put the video in the description, so if you want to check my work, you can. Just be, viewer beware. So basically the argument is that they're in it for the money. They're mercenaries, essentially, right? Saying whatever it takes to get those sweet, sweet dollarinos out of their audience that's mostly boomers and some disaffected 20-somethings. I think that's giving them a little bit too much credit, though, and here's why. Let me be clear up front, by the way. I am not implying causation at all. I don't believe Marilyn Manson was responsible for Columbine, and I don't believe that Ben Shapiro was responsible for the Quebec mosque terrorist attack. I believe people are responsible for their own actions, and that nobody can make you do anything by putting out a YouTube video. But I do think we need to stop giving them a pass. They may very well just be in it for the money, but their audience doesn't know that. And a larger and larger chunk of their audience is made up of these far-right extremists looking to have their various conspiracy theories about race and intelligence, their xenophobia, their anti-Muslim rhetoric. They're looking to have all of these things validated and mainstreamed and legitimized. And that's what they're getting from these channels. Steven Crowder has on people like Owen Benjamin. Dave Rubin has on Lauren Southern and Stefan Molyneux. Ben Shapiro has on Glenn Beck and Sam Harris and Andrew Klavan. Really a who's list of right-wing people. And these associations with these far-right personalities appeal to their audience, and particularly the chunk of the audience that already has these far-right extremist views. With that in mind, I think it's worth noting some of the real-world consequences Steven Crowder, every time he brings up Carlos Maza, he gets harassed en masse by Steven Crowder fanboys. He's been doxxed. Steven Crowder has been incredibly offensive about Maza and suffered basically no punishment for it. The Quebec terrorist had spent a pretty decent amount of time looking at Trump and Shapiro and Coulter on Twitter, among others. The Christchurch terrorists told people to go subscribe to Pewdiepie. These grifters may not care about what they're saying or really believe what they're pushing, but the people that are following them and buying their mugs and shirts and hats do, and they have a huge audience. Artificially inflated or not, I mean, you know, we can say, well, it's all Russian trolls, but it's obviously not. If I knew that people were committing these sorts of atrocities and basing some of their ideology on the things that I was saying, I would want to take a look at what I was saying. I don't see that happening from these folks. So what can we do about this? Well, obviously it'd be great if YouTube decided to stop just selectively enforcing their terms of service against smaller leftist channels, shout out Theyre, and actually started to go after some of these larger channels that are blatantly breaking their terms of service, that are available to anybody who would care to look for them publicly on YouTube's own site. And while I'm wishing, I'd also like to have the body of peak Arnold Schwarzenegger with the face of Ezra Miller. So, look, that's not going to happen, right? I mean, YouTube is heavily incentivized to keep these grifters on their platform because of the sweet, sweet eyeballs that they can monetize. So, what should we do? Should we despair? Yeah, I mean, yeah, we should. But just for a second. Now look, I don't have the answers. I wish I did. You know, it'd make this video a whole lot more appealing if I could market it as the quick fix for the alt-right, but I don't have solutions for how we're going to deal with these people. We're not going to be able to deplatform them, right? They seem to be immortal in that respect. The worst thing that's ever happened to Steven Crowder is he got demonetized on a few videos. I don't think that we're ever going to be able to outreach them either. I love the work that's being done on LeftTube. Just incredible research, production value, really strong arguments that are backed up with actual data. You know, this stuff is really important, and I 100% support it, and in fact hope to contribute to it. But I think it's important to note that people on the right aren't particularly interested in having their views challenged. That's not a slam necessarily on anybody's intellectual capabilities. It's just an acknowledgement that the world is hard and life is hard and people are busy. And being able to do the kind of work and put in the time to check if your core beliefs are actually true or valid, that's hard. And not only hard, it's painful, right? To think about the fact that you might be wrong about something that you hold extremely dear, that requires some serious commitment. And a lot of people just don't have the time or the energy for it. So here's what I think. I think Peter Coffin had it right, honestly, when he went on Destiny's channel. I don't think we should have them on ours. I don't think there's any value to that. And I don't think there's any value to going on their platforms and trying to take them down because they're not going to care. Their audience isn't going to care. You can dunk on people until you're blue in the face and you'll still get called a lefty, commie, pinko, cuck, beta, whatever, right? If you show them that you care and that you aren't just trying to be right, but this is stuff that matters, you may convince a few people that at least you're not a dick. And if you can convince a few people that you're not a dick, then they might be potentially more willing to listen to people who sound like you later. And I think that's great. The other thing I can think of is use LeftTube as a resource. Don't use it as your entire worldview. The fantastic thing about LeftTube to me is that you can find whatever niche interest you have, either addressed in a video or addressed in the comments. And comments aren't always kind and they aren't always polite. But they've been valuable to me because I can find out stuff that people are passionate about that way. And I can find out stuff that maybe I should be thinking about more. Just because somebody's particular issue is fairly niche doesn't mean that it's not valid. I like finding new ways to be nice to people. It makes me feel good. And I think that we can use that as a very valuable tool to help us find those sorts of things. But we cannot let it stop there. You find the thing that you're passionate about, right? You find the work that matters to you, and you figure out how you can start doing it. Activism is the only way we're going to change anything, right? I'm going to keep making these videos. I hope the people that I look up to keep making their videos and keep bringing awareness to these things that are important and these topics that aren't necessarily covered very honestly in the mainstream. But I got to start doing something about it rather than just tweeting. And I'm calling my own self out. I am very active on Twitter and not very active in my community. That needs to change. And that needs to change for me, and that needs to change for everybody who feels like they want to make a difference. Remember Kony? The whole Make Kony Famous, Kony 2012. I actually worked for people who worked on that campaign. They did a great job raising awareness of the fact that there was this huge problem. But did we stop Kony? Did we get him? Did anything materially change? #joinanorgyounerds.